Hey everyone, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Young Adult Matters. Like always, I'm Amy, and this is Joe.
Hey guys.
So we brought back, two of our old prior guests. So we have, don't laugh at me.
Like we're old.
You're not old. But
old.
we welcome you back, and thank you so much for joining us
Thanks
again.
for calling me old, but yeah.
So we have Lisa and Ruby. Everybody knows Lisa.
Yes.
Lisa is the campus minister at our UTB campus, and then we have Ruby, another CM assistant to the director of Office of Campus Young Adult Ministry. So pretty much the whole part of the CM team. So today's topic, we're going to talk about saints. So what's a saint? Let's just get right to it. What's a saint? At least to you, what is a saint?
Well, the definition of a saint is anybody in heaven is a saint, not just the ones that the church has canonized. You know, the process that happens, you know, the venerable to then being beatified and then being canonized. A lot of times we think that just the saints are the ones that have been canonized, but everybody in heaven is a saint. Being in eternal communion with God is a saint. So.
And I think it's something that we're all called to be, our saints. And I think, again, most people think that it's just those chosen few that have lived their lives in a certain way, but it's something that we're all called to do and need to strive for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we're all called to live like the saints. You know, it's not just, it's them over there, but it's, you know, all of us together. And the saints are really just the people that live a Christ-like life, and again are in communion with God and in heaven with Him. And that's the important thing with saints, that, you know, we need to accept and have that responsibility that says, I'm called to be a saint, and everything that I do today, tomorrow, later, is to be a saint and to be with God.
So getting more deep into it, you know, to be a saint, they're all in heaven. Well, what necessarily makes one a saint?
Kind of like what Jess said, to live a Christ-filled life. I mean, they had so much love, not because they love God. Hold on. It's because I had to look this up on UCAT. If you guys, we mentioned this book before, which is totally awesome. It's stands for Youth Catechism, right? And it's, like we've said it before, it was given to a lot of people in World Youth Day. And I have my little thingies, so just give me a second. Yeah. The saints are lovers, not because they're able to love so well, but because God has touched them. They pass on the love they received from God to other people in their own and often original way. So when you have Christ in your heart overflows, and you just want to pass that on to everybody else, and that's what saints are. That's what we are all called to do. And yeah, that's pretty much it. In a nutshell. This book has a lot of really neat things that I'm going to keep on talking about. So.
Yeah, and you know, once I was talking with Father Andy from St. Joseph the Worker in McAllen, and he was saying, you know, once we're in heaven, you know, we'll be completely satisfied. But will there be an ability to love? There's the capacity to love would be more, you know. And I bring that up because some people are okay, you know, she's a holy person, she's more holier than I am, or we're very quick to jump into this I'm so broken mentality. God can't love me. But yes, and of course we realize and we acknowledge that we're at different levels that people love, because so one of the things that faith, hope, and love, the only one that's eternal is love. Mm-hmm. Because once we're in heaven, if we become saints and we join God in heaven, there's no more need for faith. There's no more need for hope, because we're completely satisfied. But it's like taking a small container, like let's say a shot glass, right? And then a bucket. Mm-hmm. If you fill both of them up, they're both full. But obviously one has more. The bucket has more. And that's what Father Andy was saying. He said, we should try and be like buckets. And by doing that is the way we live here on earth, and our capacity to love here on earth is what continues in the eternal and into the eternal life in heaven. So do we want to have this much amount of love, or do we want to have a bucket full? And I think one thing that we can say for sure, the saints that have been canonized by the church are the ones that we know have a full bucket. You know, they have a bucket full of love that they shared here with, which is going with what you were saying, that it's just, it overflows and it continues to everybody.
And Joe, I take that a step further and say, like, our canonized saints are the well. You know, well, Jesus is the well, but, you know, they've done their job so well that they are a well and they fill our buckets. They help set that example, and that we can kind of, you know, see somewhat of ourselves in them, and we're able to fill our bucket, you know, so that we can overflow, and we hope to become those wells.
And something that we've mentioned in other shows too is that it's easier for us to kind of model the saints, because yes, we're called to live a Christ-like life, and we read in the Bible and we listen to Mass, and so we know the example that Jesus left for us. But also, you know, the saints, like, I think of saints like San Jose Maria Escriva, Blessed John Paul II, Blessed Mother Teresa. You know, these people, they were alive through, you know, pretty much through the same stuff that we're going through. Of course, San Jose Maria Escriva, he died in 1975, so he's a little bit, you know, he and I are from different generations, right? But, you know, Blessed Pope John Paul II, Blessed Mother Teresa, they were alive through a lot of the things that I grew up with, you know, and to know that they were able to continue and they were able to live a life that models Christ among the internet age, and what this, you know, we always say, oh, society, oh, this is so bad, and where has society gone? Well, there's those saints, and there's hundreds, if not thousands or millions of saints that the church hasn't canonized that went through this horrible, through the Depression, through the world wars, through, you know, the rise of individualism, through different things that society deems as negative and as bad, but there's that hope. And there's that small, that light that Pope John Paul II just radiates, that Blessed Mother Teresa radiates to, you know, secular or non-secular sources, books, they quote Mother Teresa many times. They quote John Paul II many times, because it transcends beyond, oh, the Catholic or the religion in a box, because of their lives and their examples and how they just goes.
Yeah, and I think we look at those quotes because, you know, the saints, I think we can look at them as their personalities, and do our personalities fit with their personalities? And to look at their quotes and what they said and what they taught and how they lived and even how they prayed helps us to kind of, oh, you know, I can kind of emulate this saint, or I can emulate this part of this saint, and I think that that helps us grow and develop.
Yeah, and you know, like what you were saying about the personalities, that's something that for myself, you know, I've been learning about the saints. For example, with Saint John Bosco, if anybody goes into my office, it's obvious that, you know, there's a devotion to, or a following with Saint John Bosco that I do. You know, St. John Bosco did a lot of work with at-risk youth, or, you know, obviously that's the label we give them, at-risk youth in jail, orphans, just running amongst Turin and Italy, and he helped them. He went to the prisons, he went to the jails, and he helped them, taught them how to play, but he taught them how to love. And one quote, again, talking about the quotes that he says, is, it's not enough that you tell the youth that you love them, but that they know that you love them and that they feel it. And as I'm reading about him and watching movies about St. John Bosco, I find, you know, I'm able to connect the dots and say, whoa, you know, I've always helped out the gangster friends, or the ones that were the at-risk. Somehow I had that connection to them. So when I saw that with St. John Bosco, it's like, hey, I do that too. Or working with youth, and, you know, in the background in youth ministry, and then, you know, looking to St. John Bosco as an example, even in what he did and how he taught them traits, you know, with the printing press that he ran, and he taking in the orphans and giving them just love. Again, the outpour of love. You know, it makes me feel good. I'm like, okay, I'm not completely broken, or I'm on the right track, or, you know, if St. John Bosco was a good example, and this is what he did, then I'm okay, and I'm able to emulate that and know that it's a good model to take.
And
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, and a lot of the things that that I've learned from like looking at different saints is that they've really humbled themselves, and they're really charitable. And going back to Father Andy, well, I mean, we shared that mass with him. We had our very first mass at STC, and he celebrated mass along with Deacon Rudy, and he was talking about, he gave that example about the bucket and the shot glass, and it was really cool how he was so down to earth and real mellow. But he also stressed about charity and about why we discuss about why we're talking about saints so much, and closer to the end of the year, like we talk about Revelations a lot during Mass, the book of Revelation, and how we're supposed to kind of like prepare ourselves. And that's what, I guess, when he talks about saints, it's like they're our models, and they had so much love, so much charity. Like that's what St. John Bosco did. That's what a bunch of these saints did, that they gave all they could, because they had so much love. They had Christ in their heart. They had so much love that they had to just share it with everyone. And that's just, I think that's one thing that I really learned a lot from Father Andy, is that to be charitable.
Along going with those things being said, we're talking about those actions that saints are doing, and things that they do, and they humble themselves, they love each other, they show people their love. What are some things that from saints that you admire, saints that you look up to, that stand out like that, or some things that you can do every day, like that we can do every day to be Christ to others? We're all called to be saints. We're all called to be holy. What can we do? What saints that you follow, I guess, what have they done to give you that example, to be a role model to you all?
Well, the patron saint for young adults and for our office is actually Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati, and he was beatified by Pope John Paul II, which was really cool. But he was actually very young, and he was from Turin, Italy, and he was raised by a very wealthy family. They were very prestigious people. His parents, his sister, and Blessed Pier Giorgio, they were very devout in the faith, even though their parents were not. And they gave a lot of they gave their time, their money. Like I said, they were charitable. They devoted themselves to helping others, whether they were poor in financial needs or they were poor in health, or in spirit. They showed that. He showed that to others, and he wasn't a priest. He was just a young adult, and he was athletic. He was good looking. He was charming, and if you look him up, you'll see like he's very handsome. So he just had Christ in his life. Like Christ was the center of his life, and therefore he showed it to everyone. And he helped as many people as he could, and in that, like he lost his life because he contracted polio, and he died by visiting sick people, by helping them and everything, and so yeah, like that just goes to show that you don't have to be a religious in order to have a Christ-filled life and to live a saint-like life. And I think that's very important to young adults who think, oh, I'm not holy. I'm like the farthest thing away from being a saint. Well, you know what? If you just have Christ in your heart, if you try to learn about him, it's just a matter of like learning about him and showing that action to others, because like you said, they had so much love to give. So yeah, and then I think that's one of the saints that I kind of look up to. Well, and I mean, there's so many others, but I'm learning as well. So that's just a little snippet of Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati for those of y'all who didn't know.
But besides our opinion, there's a huge misconception of those that are not Catholic, of you worship saints, you have them in front of God, you have these altars for them. What does that mean? And so just so we kind of clear the air of what that really means, why do we look up to saints? Why do we admire saints? Why do we love them so much?
Well, and I think part of it is what we've already discussed, in that, we connect with their personalities, we connect with that human side and their stories, maybe we connect with their prayer life, maybe something about even their family life we connect with. So I think when that happens and people hear us excitedly talking about a saint, like Ruby's very connected with the saint she was talking about, people can say, oh, wow, you really hold them up and put them on a pedestal. And in a way we do, but we don't worship them. We talk to them and ask them, because since they're already there, they're already with Christ, you know, we ask them to intercede for us with prayers and to even guide us because we have a connection with them.
Exactly. Like, since you said they're with Christ, they've lived a Christ-filled life, and saints are people who are just totally in tune with the Spirit, and they even when they were here on earth, when they were living, they just had such a prayer. They prayed ardently. And to a point where it was contagious. And so if we're close to them, it makes it easier for us to pray. And when we don't pray to the saints, that's just something that I really want to like stress to everyone. I mean, even some Catholics themselves, they don't know, and this is something that we really need to just let everyone know, that like when I have conversations with people who are non-Catholic, but are Christian, they're like, why do you guys worship saints, you know? And it's not like in a argument like, hey, you guys are totally wrong or something. Well, this is the time where we don't have to be proud or anything, but we can just tell them, hey, you know what, we don't worship saints. That's one of the biggest misconceptions that us as Catholics that we have. We don't pray to them. We don't put them on this pedestal. We look at them as models, as ideals, like, you know, we need to live this Christ-filled life because that's what they did. But we see them as in a way to, like you said, intercede. We ask them to pray for us. It's like the same thing when anybody who's non-Catholic who asks their friends or family members, you know what, this is what's going on in my life, pray for me. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah, they're our ancestors. You know, they're part of our Catholic family, you know, so why wouldn't we have that connection with them or ask them to pray with us like family or friends?
Another thing also that happens, and that I think a lot of people, it's by either a culture or just their faith that drives them to, some people, I don't want to say that, but it's in a level of ignorance that they don't know, and all they know is that they like, or, you know, we've prayed for the intercession of St. Jude. St. Jude is a very popular saint, and so some people just kind of, they grow up with, oh, we always had a statue of St. Jude, or a prayer card of St. Jude, so they don't know, or they don't have, their faith has just been revolved around the devotion to the saint, or to the praying for intercession of the saint. But also, it's an opportunity for us, for Catholics, or those that are well formed in the faith, to then say, you know what, they're just a highway to Christ. It's a way that we can say, you know, follow in their spirituality or in their footsteps to bring us closer to Christ. You know, and a lot of also culture is another factor where people will create this devotion that from the outside looking in, you think that they're just, you know,
idol worshipers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, like for example, Our Lady of Guadalupe, it's in our Mexican American culture, or just the Mexican culture, she's a big part. And of course she is, because she is the Mother of God, the patron of the Americas, patron of the unborn, you know, and a great evangelization, you know, all the indigenous people that converted through Our Lady of Guadalupe. But if we look at her mission is to bring us to God.
Right. To her
And,
son.
and to her son,
Exactly.
and to also for any of the saints. So it's an opportunity for us to then teach and evangelize and do what the saints are on this world for, to be examples for us to then go out and do it ourselves.
And just going on that, I mean, there's this very popular show in a different channel on a Spanish network, and it talks about Our Lady of Guadalupe, and there was actually a friend of mine who is a seminarian, and who's very good friends with a lot of people at UTPA. His name is Pete, and he actually started this little conversation on Facebook saying like, oh, you know, you're a Mexican Catholic when you watch this show, and somebody put, well, I think that show kind of gives a lot of misconceptions about Catholicism, and I added, yeah, it really does, because going on with our culture, in Mexico. I mean, well, it's we have that really close relationship with the Virgin that a lot of people just kind of stray away. Like you said, it's ignorance, and they stray away and they think that, you know what, we worship the Virgin Mary, and that is not the case. And in this show, it's like they pray to her and everything, and it's just kind of reaffirms to people who are non-Catholic, like, oh yeah, see, they really do worship Mary and not Jesus. And like you said, that is not the case.
And you know what? And that's a call to action for us. It's a call to action for those that know the difference. For the ones that we don't, that are not ignorant. Because, you know, if we know the difference but don't do anything about it, then that's where the problem lies in, where, well, if you know better, why aren't you doing better? Or why don't you do different? And it's a call to action for us to step up, one, own our faith, and really claim your faith and say, this is what I believe in. And of course this ties into confirmation and the sending out into the world that Jesus did at Pentecost. But you know, sometimes we need like a refresher, and to be reminded that we need to stand up and really express what our faith really is. Because a lot of the times with people, atheist, agnostic, anti-theist, or anti-Catholic, they hate what the church is not, or what they think the church is. And a lot of the times, you know, I agree with them. And I was watching a series with Father Robert Barron, who's the rector at Mundelein? Yeah, who's at the Mundelein Seminary. And he says, I agree with I would hate that church too. But again, it's because they have a false identity, or a false idea of what the church is and what our faith is. So we need to take an opportunity, for example, with Our Lady of Guadalupe, that there's a strong devotion. We know faith is there, the faith is alive and it's present. But then just remind them, you know, it's to be with Christ. Or if there's a following with St. Jude, it's to lead you to Christ. St. John Bosco, Pier Giorgio Frassati, Mother Teresa, the list goes on and on and on and on, that it's to guide us to Christ and to bring us to Christ. And for us that know about these saints, again, use that spirituality to help teach others, because we are one family, like you said. So we need to be the saints that, who knows, in 100 years, 200 years, you know, Saint Ruby of San Juan, or Saint Lisa of Brownsville via Indiana, you know,
Via Fort Wayne, South
that's
Bend.
what we, yeah, but that's what we need to be. We need to be that example for other people too, because Christ was that example. And again, it comes back to Christ.
And it's actually, you said the word straight from one of my favorite saints. Well, he's working on his way to be a saint, Venerable Fulton Sheen. You know, he pretty much states, a million people hate the Catholic Church for what they think it is, and only 100 hate it for what it actually is. And so it's that education as well. Well, going on, you know, you had just mentioned perfectly, like Ruby saint of something, and you know, Lisa should say saint of something else.
Indiana.
No.
Via Indiana.
Via Indiana. If you could be a saint of something, you know, what would you be of? Like, what would be your patroness of? And not only that, with working on developing your sainthood, what would be some of the things that you wish to do on earth? You know, what are some of the things that you should be doing on earth to be more to be more saint-like?
I would be the patron of awesomeness.
Wow.
And so...
And humility?
I'm very proud of my humility. And no, I think, you know, for example, for me on this journey and on being on earth, one thing that I pray for and I remind myself often is that I want to serve God. And that's it. Whether it be, you know, and if other people share this same idea, it's great. You know, it doesn't mean we have to be in the street corners saying, oh, honk if you love Jesus.
With a bullhorn.
Yeah, you know, honk if you love Jesus, text and drive if you want to meet him. But no, that was
that was really bad.
that was on a church sign out in McAllen. But no, you know, what I would like to leave on earth, or what I would like to do on earth, is for somebody to say, you know what, all he wanted to do was to serve God. He just, you know, make God, to glorify God. Whatever it is, whether it be through this show, through my job, through my friends, through my godchildren, through whatever, however it is, at the bottom line, I want to serve. I'm I'm very action driven. I like to do things. I can never sit still. If you've been watching the show the last couple of weeks, you can tell I can't. I don't sit still, and my mind's going 100 miles an hour. And so what I would like to leave is just, he was always doing, but he was always doing for God. And that's what I would like to do, because, that's what I feel is a way to God, is through service and through work.
On the same question, on the same note, a friend of mine accuses me of being a pathological gift giver. So my kidding would be the saint of giving of gifts, which I think Saint Nicholas kind of has that one already.
Mrs. Claus.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I see myself as a youth and a young adult advocate, and I would hope to be able to pull gifts out of them, the gifts that God has given them. So, I would love to be that, that patron saint of gift giving and gift pulling and gift,
You can
and
start in
using those
July. My
gifts.
birthday's in July. So
Oh, all right.
you can start in July.
We'll skip Christmas and Three Kings.
That's
and-
more important.
Okay.
July.
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, for me, your guys' answers are so awesome, Mr. Patron Saint of Awesome. Anyway,
And humility.
and humility. Well, for me, the only thing I can think about is my little brother. I love him dearly, so much, and he's crazy. Oh, great, he's going to tell me something now. But anyway, I guess I work on my little brother a whole lot. One thing that I learned from my mom is she's very devoted, and so, and she would kind of guide me in the right direction. And I think I'm trying to be that guide for my little brother. And one thing that I've noticed with him is that he's 7 years old, and sometimes he is a voice of reason, and he's just 7. Like I don't even understand why. I'm like, it's just really crazy sometimes the things he says. I mean, he's 7 years old, and when we pray at night, well, he already knows our Father, Virgin Mary, and stuff like that. But when he prays, he's like, Lord, please forgive me of all my sins. And like, what 7-year-old says that? And then he's like, I just want my family members to seek you and this and that. And I'm just like blown away by what my brother says. So I guess if I can be the patron saint of something, maybe it would be just taking care of your siblings. So that's what I really like to do. I mean, sure, he gets under my skin as any other sibling would, but if there's anything that I love dearly in this world, it is my little brother. So, yeah.
So, guys, thank you so much for sharing those awesomeness, gift givers besides St. Nicholas. You could be there's patron saints of doubles of everything, I'm sure, and then of little siblings. But guys, again, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, I know we're going to see several faces back. So, just guys, if anything that you want to know, I mean, especially during this year of faith, we really ask you to take a step forward in your faith and get closer to the Eucharist. So for more information about what we talked about today, you can check out cm.net, and also just look at us on our Facebook as well. So you can find us all there. So guys, we will see you next week, and it's a blessing having you. God bless you guys. Bye.